Good afternoon. Joe Eberlein here, based live out of Irvine, California on Friday, April 5th, 2013 at approximately 2:40 Pacific Standard Time in the afternoon. Here to bring you a new sports topic every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Going to take weekends off. This is really exciting for me. This is my first time doing a YouTube podcast, my own channel for sports talk. I'm really looking forward to having insight and input from all the other sports fans out there. I understand, my appearance is rather casual, but hey, it's Casual Friday, so why not? I know that tomorrow's a big day. Final Four begins for March Madness. Baseball season has just begun, but some words were uttered today by one of my favorite players in the NFL. But before I get into that, let me tell you about myself as a sports fan. I'm originally from back east. I was born in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, but my parents lived in New York their entire lives until I was born, and therefore made sure to raise me to make sure that I was a New York Yankees, a New York Giants, a New York Knicks fan, and for college football, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. But I am not biased in my approach and my opinions. I tell it straight like it is. I'm a very objective sports fan, and I expect everybody else to be the same. Whether it's in a friendly debate or sometimes it gets to be a heated discussion, I expect you to be very, very, very straightforward and non-biased in your approach. Otherwise, I'm not sure I really want to talk sports with you. But anyways, some words were uttered today by DeMarcus Ware, outside linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, who now will be playing defensive end this year in the 4-3 scheme that they'll be running on defense after running the 3-4 for so many years. Tony Romo, his quarterback, just received a brand new contract for 6 years, $108 million, with $55 million guaranteed. In Tony Romo's career, he has made the postseason 3 times, played a total of 4 games, and only won 1 of them. And as a result of Tony Romo getting that big contract, DeMarcus Ware had 5 words for him: put up or shut up. And I can't agree with him more. Tony Romo is getting $55 million guaranteed, a few million dollars more guaranteed than Joe Flacco, who is currently the reigning Super Bowl quarterback and MVP for the championship Baltimore Ravens for the 2012 season. Joe Flacco, I understand, he's never had a Pro Bowl caliber season. But if you look at Joe Flacco's numbers, he is 9-4 in 5 career playoff appearances with a 19 touchdown to 8 interception ratio, whereas Tony Romo is 1-3 in his postseason career with 4 touchdowns to 2 interceptions thrown and 1 very crucial fumble in 2006 against the Seattle Seahawks in the first round when he fumbled a field goal attempt that would have won the game for the Dallas Cowboys, assuming the kick was good, of course. Tony Romo, I have been vocal about this outside the record. Being that this is my first time on YouTube, I will be the first to say that the Cowboys' problems do not only center around Tony Romo. I do not believe that he is the problem there. I believe that the main problem in particular is that Jerry Jones needs to hire a general manager. He's a great owner, but I do not think he is the best general manager, and writing this paycheck for Tony Romo, I think, says it all right there. On the other hand, Jason Garrett, I believe he's a great offensive coordinator, but I do not believe that he should be sharing his offensive play calling duties with head coaching duties. He should hire an offensive coordinator, such as somebody like Norv Turner, who's still on the open market right now after being fired by the San Diego Chargers. So, taking a look at Tony Romo's regular season numbers, 177 touchdowns to 91 interceptions thrown. A lot of those interceptions have come at crucial times. Going back to the years 2008 and most recently in 2012, the Cowboys were alive until the last game of the regular season of being able to make the playoffs. In 2008, they were absolutely embarrassed and humiliated in Philadelphia by the Eagles' defense, which still featured their backbone and safety, Brian Dawkins, at that time. And they completely embarrassed not just Tony Romo, but their star running back at the time, Marion Barber, who was as bone-crushing of a running back as I've ever seen in my lifetime, as a very, very hard-nosed downhill runner. Tony Romo's completion percentage, 64.7%. Not terrible. But what gets you the big paycheck these days? You have to win, or your numbers must be astronomical. I just mentioned Joe Flacco, the most recent Super Bowl winning quarterback. Let's take a look at the 2 before him. In 2011-2012 season, Eli Manning found a way to once again defeat Tom Brady and the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. Eli Manning's postseason numbers, he's 8-3 in 5 playoff appearances, including 2 Super Bowl championships. 17 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. That's better than a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. In 2007, when they ended the New England Patriots' perfect season at 18-1, Eli Manning threw for 6 touchdowns throughout that postseason and 1 interception. In 2011, he threw for 9 touchdowns and 1 interception in that postseason run. And keep in mind, at the start of that season, in an interview, Eli Manning was asked, "Do you consider yourself a top 5 quarterback?" And he said, "Yes, I consider myself to be in the same class as Tom Brady." And you know what? All the analysts, all the experts, and a lot of fans, I'm sure, laughed at him, saying, "Oh, he's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about." But Eli Manning went out and he proved exactly that he was an elite quarterback in the NFL, and as a result, got his 2nd championship ring as a member of the New York Giants. And let's not forget the quarterback the year before him, in 2010, Aaron Rodgers, following in the footsteps in Green Bay of Brett Favre. And I understand we all talk about the Dallas Cowboys being America's team. You know, they're a dynasty. There's a great tradition behind them in football, having won 5 Super Bowl championships going back to their days of Roger Staubach and Tom Landry. Aaron Rodgers followed in the footsteps of one of the greatest, and some will say the greatest quarterback of all time, in Brett Favre. I understand he's thrown more career interceptions in the NFL than anybody else, but he's also thrown more career touchdowns in the NFL than any other quarterback in the history of the game. Aaron Rodgers followed Brett Favre's footsteps immediately upon Brett Favre's, supposed retirement at the time in the 2008 season. Tony Romo, I understand there's a lot of pressure with you being a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, but guess what? Between the time that Troy Aikman retired and the time you became the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, there were other quarterbacks in between then that were kind of able to ease off the tension in terms of the comparisons between you and Troy Aikman. Now, being that the Dallas Cowboys are America's team, I believe Troy Aikman put it best in the later part of last decade when he said that as quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, directed at you, Tony Romo, perception of you does matter. And in 2007, even though I'm a New York Giants fan, I was thrilled that we defeated you guys in the divisional round of the playoffs. I was very critical in the thought that instead of training and preparing for that playoff game, you went to Cancun with your then girlfriend at the time, Jessica Simpson, as well as drawing criticism from guys such as Tony Dorsett and Emmitt Smith, 2 other former Cowboy greats, who said, "You know what, the leadership, that's great, but why not more of it now? Why just now?" You know, Tony, you don't deserve the money, I'm sorry. But anyways, back to Aaron Rodgers here. Taking a look at Aaron Rodgers and his postseason numbers. Aaron Rodgers has an MVP to his credit. He's a Super Bowl champion. He has a 5-3 playoff record in 4 postseason appearances, and his touchdown-interception ratio is 18-5. Aaron Rodgers has not yet received a new contract, but reports were starting to surface that the Packers and Aaron Rodgers were on the verge of a massive contract that was going to make him one of the highest paid, if not maybe even the highest paid quarterback in the history of the NFL. And then, Tony Romo, you got your 6-year, $108 million contract with, once again, $55 million guaranteed for 1 playoff win and just three playoff appearances. In my opinion, that is way too much money for you. And I think that now Aaron Rodgers and his agent, they can backpedal a little bit and use that as a little bit more bargaining leverage to get more money. And 2 other quarterbacks that I see eyeing a big payday at some point in the future, who I think are going to have very big years in 2013, happen to both be in the 2004 draft class. The number 1 overall pick for my New York Giants, Eli Manning. The number 11th overall pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's also a 2-time Super Bowl champion, and Ben Roethlisberger. DeMarcus Ware has always been very diligent, always very soft-spoken, and not known to be one of many words in his time as an NFL player coming out of Troy State. But I believe DeMarcus's words hit the nail on the head. Tony, you need to either put up or shut up. The Dallas Cowboys, for America's team, have certainly been very disappointing. And you know what? I have a lot of respect for the Cowboys. I understand it's a rivalry and everything, but I give respect where it's due. I think Jerry Jones is a class act. He just needs to swallow his pride and hire a GM. Tony Romo, you know, you haven't done anything wrong. Your on-the-field performance isn't horrible. It's definitely above average. It's not great, but you've had great talent around you in your career. You have one of the best tight ends, and who may at some point be labeled as the greatest tight end to ever play the game, in Jason Witten. You've had a dangerous running attack between guys such as Marion Barber, Julius Jones, and Felix Jones, and now DeMarco Murray. Not to mention wide receivers with the talent level of Terrell Owens, Miles Austin, and now Dez Bryant, who's up and coming, and the Cowboys had the audacity to give him number 88 even though Michael Irvin already had that number and he's a Hall of Famer, because that's how good they thought he was going to be. That's why they traded up for him to take him 25th overall in the 2010 draft. Yes, they traded up to get him, and you know what, his talent level's there, but his character and his state of mind is the biggest question of all about him. It's never been his talent. So, Tony, if you don't deliver a contract in that, if you don't deliver a Super Bowl championship under the time of this contract, guys such as Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger, and maybe even a guy like Phillip Rivers and another guy like Cam Newton may be commanding a very huge payday soon, because this may give them extra leverage and motivation to do so. So, as a result, my New York Giants are going to end up committing a lot more money to Eli Manning, and with the hard salary cap era these days in the NFL and their collective bargaining agreements, we may not be able to put any pieces around him, and that's going to be the same for all the other teams. So, Tony, good luck, but in the words of DeMarcus Ware, put up or shut up.